Hey everyone, and welcome. So today, we're going to tackle one of the coolest, most mysterious things our brains can do, the aha moment. You know that incredible spark of insight when a brilliant idea just pops into your head out of nowhere? Well, where does it really come from?
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're wrestling with a problem, hitting a wall, and then bam, the solution is just there. It's suddenly crystal clear. But what is actually going on inside your head in that split second? It's an amazing feeling, isn't it? One moment, you've got nothing, and the next, a fully formed idea just exists. It's so sudden, so out of the blue, that it honestly feels like some kind of magic. Okay, but what if we could trade that magic for physics? Today, we're going to explore this really wild idea that creativity isn't some mystical art form, but a predictable physical process that your brain is literally built to perform. So let's dive in. All right, first things first. To get how new ideas are made, we have to understand how our minds work by default. And spoiler alert, it's all about patterns and habits. So, I want you to picture your mind as a big landscape of soft sand. Every time you have a thought, it's like a little stream of water flowing over that sand, carving out a channel. The more you have that same thought, the deeper and wider that channel gets. Pretty soon, it becomes almost effortless for all your future thoughts to just flow down that same exact well-worn path. It's super efficient for sure, but it's also a trap. And this basically leaves us with two different ways of thinking. Natural thinking, that's our brain on autopilot. It's fast, it's efficient, but it's totally stuck in those ruts, just flowing down the same old channels. Lateral thinking, though, is the total opposite. It's the deliberate act of jumping out of those ruts to carve a brand new path. And that, right there, is where new ideas are born. So if our brain just loves its comfy, familiar routines, what on earth does it take to actually break one of those patterns? This right here is the key. Our mental patterns, they're stable, but they're not invincible. They all have a breaking point. Creativity happens when some new energy or information comes along and pushes our brain past that point, forcing it to reorganize itself into a new, more complex, and better pattern. And it turns out there are 5 key triggers that give it that push. It could be a surprising new fact that just doesn't fit your worldview. Or maybe it's some stored up emotional energy that's shaking things up. It could even be that you're just so bored with an old routine that it's become fragile. Or you're faced with a flat-out contradiction that your brain has to resolve. Every single one of these destabilizes the old system and creates an opening for that aha moment. Now, here's where things get really wild. We've been talking in metaphors, right? Channels in sand, breaking patterns. But what if it isn't a metaphor at all? What if this is a literal, physical event happening inside your skull? Okay, let's get into the actual physics of it with something called the Brain Kinematics Model, which is basically a physical theory of how we think. And this is where it all clicks into place. What we thought was just a helpful metaphor is actually describing a physical reality. A mental pattern is a real thing. It's a stable, synchronized wave of neural activity in your brain. And an insight, that jump, that's the wave literally breaking apart and then recombining into something new. Lateral thinking is just you consciously triggering this physical process. The core mechanism here has a name: phase decomposition. Think of it like this. You have a complex Lego creation. Phase decomposition is the act of smashing it, breaking it down into all its individual bricks, and then using those same bricks to build something totally new and even cooler. That moment of chaos, where old connections dissolve, frees up the raw material of a thought to form a brand new, more sophisticated idea. This is not a metaphor. This is really happening. And what's amazing is this process builds on itself from the ground up. It starts tiny, at the micro level, with little memory associations breaking apart. Then those pieces recombine into new stories and themes. And those form bigger, abstract concepts. Until finally, you reach a state where your mind is actually aware of its own creative process. Now, this incredible ability to have new ideas didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was built, step by step, over millions and millions of years of evolution. You can see that each major leap forward in our thinking power corresponds to a real biological upgrade. The development of the limbic system, for instance, gave us emotional memory. The massive expansion of our neocortex gave us symbols and tools. And finally, the wiring that connects our brain's 2 hemispheres, that gave us self-awareness. You can actually see the whole journey laid out here. It starts with the simple stimulus and response of early organisms, then moves to emotional memory in reptiles, then to basic tool use in primates, and it all culminates in our uniquely human ability to think about our own thinking, to be self-aware.
So this brings us to the crucial question. Why? Why did evolution push our brains down this path of increasingly abstract thought? What was the point? Well, it really all boils down to a massive survival advantage. Abstract thinking is just way more energy efficient for the brain. It lets us predict the future, it helps us manage our emotions, and it allows us to build incredibly complex cultures. A brain that's aware of itself is the ultimate planning machine. And the ultimate state of all this evolution is something called the continuum principle. This is the point where the mind goes beyond just seeing individual things and starts to perceive the underlying patterns and relationships that connect everything. It's all about seeing the biggest possible picture. It's like having an aha moment, not just about one little problem, but about how the entire universe fits together. And this quote just sums it all up perfectly. Every aha moment, every single new idea you've ever had is part of this huge evolutionary process. It's your brain physically rewiring itself, always searching for a wider, more inclusive, and more stable state of balance. Which, of course, leaves us with one last fascinating thought. This whole process, it isn't over. As individuals and as a species, we are still evolving, still breaking and remaking patterns. So the real question is, to solve the massive challenges of the future, what comfortable, well-worn patterns will we need to break next?